Hey guys, welcome to the narrative. I'm Malfunction here in beautiful New Zealand. Today I'm going to talk about how much I love Dr. Stone. I really, really love this anime, the manga, and being someone who's sold manga before and understands manga to a certain extent, but really loves anime. This is the first time that I've been actually where I watched an anime and I felt I need to read the manga because I just can't get enough of this. And so the other night I spent while I was working, I watched about 6 7 episodes in dub, and then I thought, well, I need to give my mind a bit of rest while from doing multitasking. You know what? I'll just sit here and watch the subtitles version of it. The original Japanese version of it with English subs. So, and I found myself enjoying it and loving it, and just kept watching it and kept watching it. And suddenly it was over. The first 24 episodes was over, and and I just couldn't stop myself. I needed to go and read the rest of the story arc, which is I think Stone Wars, which is and in the manga, and that carries on to another arc as well. So far there's three arcs that I can think of. I've just finished the second arc. Okay, so about Dr. Stone. Dr. Stone, let me get my notes here. It's written by where are we? Chiro Inaki, if I remember right. Yep, Inagaki. Sorry, Inagaki Richiro, and he's a writer. He should. I don't know. I had to look it up. I couldn't get a description. Anyway, but the other one is the artist is Boichi. Okay, so that was easy to pronounce. Sorry guys if I mungled up your names. I'm not really good with names sometimes, especially Japanese or Asian names. All right, so pronunciation that is. Okay, so the anime came out. Sorry, the manga came out in March. I think around March 2017, in Shonen Jump, in a weekly in the magazine, and then it was collected in April last year by Viz, and straight after that, like April and then July, suddenly the anime was okayed, which meant that it was so popular around the world that Viz, decided, well, we're gonna make this turn this. I mean, sorry, the guys, I think it's Kondansha that picked it up, decided, well, we need to quickly make this into anime, and boom, there we go, 24 episodes. They've already, even before the last episode, I think, finished, they already okayed the next arc. And the cool thing about this anime is that it's just so good, right? I mean, sorry, the manga is so good, and it's tried to stick as close to the manga. The anime is trying to stick as close to the manga as possible, which I found really interesting because a lot of the times, with anything that's translated from a book or comic to even sometimes from TV to film, it sort of loses its what uniqueness or what actually makes it interesting, especially if it comes from Japanese to English dub, and which is kind of sometimes I can pick up on it because it just feels not Japanese in the way they say things and the cultural things that are added to it. And sometimes, if you've been reading for a long time, you know what's English and Western ideals, and you know what's Japanese and Japanese cultural ideals, vice versa to uh, Western ideals. Now, so basically, the story starts off that there's these two guys, this guy who's a scientist, Senko, his friend Taiju, who's like this very strong, bumbling loudmouth, right? He just very nervous person, very shy. And after 5 years of liking this girl, they're all high schoolers. He wants to confess his love to her. So he runs outside and goes, "Hey, I after 5 years, I want to let you know how I feel." After telling his mate that's what he's going to do, and his mate goes, "No, this is not going to happen." Yeah, no, he couldn't do it. And so he gets out there, and suddenly there's a bright yellow light, or green light, starts shining, and it's like all coming across the sky, and slowly people turn to stone. They're petrified. So it's kind of a black stone that goes over themselves, and they turn to stone. So um, So then we shift forward to like about 3,700 years later. So 3,700 years into the future, and we see all these visions of the world, visuals of the world where it's like everything's just decayed and it's just gone back to just nature. There's nothing of the old world that you could think of. And so, 3,000 years later, almost 4,000 years later, the world is back to the green, right? Um, so Taiju basically suddenly wakes up. The stones fall off him, the encasing that he was in. And the other thing about this encasing, it's actually all the way through, which is kind of interesting. It's like somehow if it bleeds into you, you turn into stone all the way through. Whereas if there's no cracks in the stone over time, you're just encased in it, so you're still flesh inside. So Taiji wakes up and freaks out, and he goes looking around something, around his area in Japan where he is at school, because they're basically outside of school where they get petrified, the three of them. So he goes looking for the girl, right? Sorry, I can't remember the name, but hey, watch it. It's really good. And so he goes looking for the girl in this, his sweetheart or his love interest that he's, childhood sweetheart who's just, madly in love with it, but has never confessed his love to. And so finally he finds her. There she is, exactly where she was that moment 3,700 years in the past, now here in the future. And he finally is able to blurt out his confess his love to her. And he's just broken, because it's like everybody's stoned and he's by himself. He thinks he's alone, he's by himself. And he looks up and there's a sign, there's a scratched out sign into the bark that's etched out, whatever, into this bark, and it says, "Hey, idiot, um, I'm here as well. You're not the only one, so come find me." And tells him which way to go. And so he finds out that their Senku is alive as well, and that you know, and Senku's figured out how to bring other people back to life as well. So there's only the two of them now, and so here they this in this world, it's all about, it's like a science reality world. Like this is what, and I was trying to describe it to my brother-in-law the other day, is how much I love this show and how much I felt that I needed to know more, because I'm not a very sciencey guy. Like, so, because I'm a geek, I'm not a nerd. And I've always, said that, because for me, a nerd is someone who can actually knows how the computers work and the bits and pieces and how to put together, but not properly, right? I can put the motherboard in and that's that, but I don't know why the motherboard works, right? So, and the great thing about the show is you learn about technology and how Senku is trying to bring back the technology to help. He's not doing it because he thinks this is what for sense of power or entitlement or whatever, or uses knowledge to show off. But the great thing is that he's as you're watching these 24 episodes, you're growing with a greater appreciation for the technology we have, and how we've gotten to this point where you've got a DVD that you can or that you can put into a console, and now you can have a controller and you can play the game, and there's graphics there. 30 years ago, 40 years ago, none of that existed, right? You had arcades, you had a Commodore 64, which we had in our home. We had VIC 20s, all this old IBM machines and stuff, Ataris. And now you get to the stage where you have Xbox Ones, Xbox XL. My dad rang me up earlier and said, "Hey, guess what? I have a PlayStation 1. Do you want it?" I was just going through my stuff. I've got all these games. And I said, "Sure." Because in another 30 years, we'll be looking back going, wow, look at what we had. This is, 60 years ago, this is what existed, right? So it's like a two generations back. And, and it's just, it taught me about a great appreciation for power in the sense of wind, water, electricity, battery, cell phones, digital media, being able to connect with you guys around the world, right? Through YouTube. And I think that's a great thing. That's I think that apart from just the character development and the stories and the plots, and there are there are bad guys in this as well. So yeah, there's villains and all that, and they're great as well. There's great character arcs on those villains as well, or the baddies, and there's heroes and people in between. And it's just you know how do you bring back a world that's gone for 3,700 years or so, and how do you bring back people after realizing you're the only ones there, and how do you survive in that? Do you lose yourself? Do you think? I mean, I myself have, I've written a couple of dystopian um, stories, short stories, starts of novels and stuff, and just the idea around that, and how to. And what I like about the story is like, it's just so much hope and so much um, enthusiasm for technology and science.